Okay, this is the second part of our sales part that we talked about earlier. Um, as we look at some of the questions that we have from the others, remember we talked about salespeople. They basically eat what they kill. They get paid on what they sell. Um, that sales is turning more to marketing oriented. Radio is most dependent on local sales. Most salespeople get paid commission. They might sometimes get paid a draw against their commission. And we're going to talk a little about some of this other stuff and um, the difference between the radio uses inventory, television uses avails, um, some of the other things about how co-op advertising works. Just remember all those things. But that's all great, right? You know those things. And I told you about going to 19th Street Carpet Warehouse and getting thrown out on my very first call, which led me to believe that, hey, this is going to be harder than I thought. So if we were in class, I would ask you, what would be the reason that most salespeople fail? Remember what I just told you? I got thrown out of a carpet store. This is going to be very good. If you do what I'm telling you, it's worth 5 points on your next test. Pause this video. Well, not right now. Just a minute. Go to the message board. First person that does it starts it and says, start with answer or something like that. Start the thread. And tell me, or start the thread, why salespeople fail. And then pause this video, go on there, and write your answer, why you think most salespeople fail. No right or wrong answer. And I'm going to tell you what the answer is in just a minute. But hit pause and go answer. The first person starts the thread, says why salespeople fail. The second person goes in there and just keeps answering. Everyone put their guess, put their answer until we get it. And if you do that, if you're part of the deal, you get 5 points on your next test. So right now, hit pause and say, tell me why you think salespeople fail. So I paused too here. So I'm presuming that now you did that you did the pause and went and answered the question. Here's the reason most salespeople fail. They're afraid to make the call. So I get thrown out of a store. I'm a young guy, again, wearing my coat and tie. I get thrown out, and I'm cold calling, right? It's called cold calling. You don't have an appointment. You don't know the person. It's a good test question I'm writing down. It's called a cold call. You're just going in, introduce yourself. Hi, I'm Robert Giovanetti with whatever. And I'd like to tell you a little bit about my business, learn a little bit more about your business, and see if we can somehow work together. That's a cold call. You're a new person, you don't get a list or whatever. Sometimes you do get a list, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you get, hey, these people are already advertising. You can call on them and call on new people. It doesn't matter. New business, going out there to make new business. And so imagine how hard it was for me on the next call to make the call, to open that door and go in. Later that same day, I did have an appointment at a party store. I had an appointment. And I went and I was standing in line. I'm holding my little portfolio and I got my coat. And I said, hey, I'm here to see Alan, was the manager. And like, okay, let me ask. And I can see in the mirror, there's a big mirror up on, and I can see Alan telling the person, tell him I'm not here. Tell him I'm not here. That was my first day as a salesperson. You got to come back and make the call. One time when I was in college, there was this girl I wanted to ask to dance at a club. And she was sitting with a whole pack of people, so I didn't want to go up there and ask her. But somehow she got separated. She was sitting there by herself. And I went up there to ask her, hey, do you want to dance? And she said, what? And so I asked her again, and she's like, what? I can't hear you. And then, like, the song stopped, and everybody at the table looked. And I said, hey, are y'all using this ashtray? This is when you could still have ashtrays at a bar. And she's like, no, you can have it. So I went back to my table with an ashtray. I was afraid to make the call, afraid to make the sales call. So it's just like life, right? Selling can be a lot like baseball. So as a salesperson, you're going to fail. Failure is never fatal. But think about this. In baseball, if you're a good hitter in baseball and you get a hit 3 times out of 10, which means 7 times out of 10, you're going to fail. You're a Hall of Famer. If you can get a hit 3 times, fail 7, you're considered a success. So remember that. Selling is baseball. The guy that grounds out or strikes out or goes 0 for 4 or 0 for 8 or whatever, 2 days in a row, goes 0 for, he's got to put a bat in his hand and come back the next day. Gabby knows that same thing in soccer, right? You're not going to score every time. You're not going to be successful every time. Failure is never fatal. So your rule number 1 as a salesperson, be prepared. Don't go in there and say, hey, can I help you? Or what does your business do? Or whatever. It's just, you got to be prepared, especially in 2018, right? You know what the business should be about. You go to their website, you can learn about them, you can do those things. Be prepared. That should be your number 1 rule as a salesperson. Rule number 2, tighten it up. Don't talk all the time. Listen. Again, it's like dating, right? It's like socializing. Don't over talk. Don't say too much. Listen. The wise old owl sat in an oak. The more he saw, the less he spoke. The less he spoke, the more he heard. Why can't we all be like that wise old bird? So when you look at that, think about that. If you listen, you can hear selling signs from people. You know those things. You have the right information if you just listen. You can hear it. And let your speech be better than silence, or there's no reason to talk, right? If you're going to be a person that's just going to open up your mouth, you better have something to say. Sell with questions, not answers. Little kids are the best salespeople. Why? Why is that? Why? Can I? Will you? Questions. What defines success in your business? What working for you in advertising right now? What's not working for you in advertising right now? What kind of customers do you want to see come in the door? Are you attracting those people? Whatever. Same thing. Rule number 4. There it is again. See, I could have been drinking that shake with that girl at the club. Instead, I had an ashtray. Learn about your prospect. How many kids do you have? What do you like to do in your spare time? Are you a fan of the Red Raiders? Do you like the Rangers? How do you get in this business? Learn about your prospect. Because your prospect is a real person. You got to treat them like a real person. You treat them like a salesperson, like just a salesperson. That's Herb Tarlick there from WKRP. You're not going to learn about them. You're not going to be a real person. You need to be a real person to be a successful salespeople person. And you need to treat your prospect like that. So think about that. I deal with this in speeches all the time. I can't see you guys, so I imagine I get a lot of this. If you're in a class, I can tell if you're falling asleep or whatever. I spoke to a group after a golf tournament the other day, and one guy, you see this second guy right here, I'll point at, he literally, there was a guy passed out just like that right directly in front of me. So I knew, hey, I gotta shorten this up. So you gotta listen, you gotta look and listen and understand the room and what people are saying, how their body language, they seem interested, they seem disinterested, those things. None of those people there in this picture seem very interested. So you've got to understand that and say, okay, what am I not doing? What am I not telling them? Be brief in your answers. Sometimes yes, no works. Sometimes I don't know is a great answer, right? I'll find out. I don't know the answer to that, but let me find out. And so be brief. Most valuable of all talents is that of never using 2 words when one will do. You know, sometimes I will tell my employees, don't tell me what time, don't tell me how you built the watch, tell me what time it is. Right? I don't care how you got there. Just tell me what time it is. And so sometimes the shorter answer, the better. You know, there's a rule in sales you hear sometimes, first person that talks loses. You've made your speech, the prospect has made his speech, and then you kind of sit there. And the first person that talks sometimes loses. And I mean, sometimes that gets uncomfortable, whatever. But you have to understand, no one wants to hear you speak. You're not a public speaker in this case. You're good at speaking in public, but people don't want to hear you. What's the word? Biovolate, that may not be the word. Know what you can offer. So if you're trying to sell a certain package and they say, hey, I'll give you $1,000 for it. No, can you accept that? No, if you can't accept it. No, if you got to go to somebody. Anyway, just know what you can and can't do. Know your prospect, know your product, and know what you can offer. And what are the barriers? What is keeping somebody from doing it? Is it price? Is it, hey, I just don't like your station? Hey, I don't like your website. I don't, whatever. What is it? I don't have any money to advertise. Don't, you know what? You can save everyone a lot of time, yours and theirs, if you do those things. And this is maybe the most important. Ask for the order. There's a great movie, Glenn Ross. You should do yourself a favor. I can't show it to you here because it's got lots of profanity in it, but you should go watch the Glenn Ross video online. Just this scene, the always be closing scene. It's sales wrapped up in a nutshell on hard sales. It's obviously people aren't going to be as hard nosed as Alec Baldwin is in that video. But the lessons are always be closing. Always be looking for, hey, is there an opportunity for me here to ask for an order? And by ask for the order, I means to say, however you ask it. Can we start you tomorrow? When do you want to start? Is this what you want your ad to look like when we put it in? Whatever. Ask for the order. A lot of times salespeople just get caught and they just go there and they end up visiting for 10, 15, 20, 30 minutes and nothing comes from it. Ask for the order. So those are the rules. Those are the salespeople rules. I hope you did what I asked you to do at the beginning. Again, it's worth 5 free points if you do that. And so again, probably a lot of you would be really good at sales. Probably some of you wouldn't be good at sales. And there's nothing wrong either way with that, right? It's just different people, different personalities. We're going to talk about news tomorrow as we go along. Check out for your assignment number 3, and we'll be good to go. Thanks.